Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, September 15th. Welcome to Tea Talk. Actually, I have to confess, I have gone to the dark side today. I'm drinking coffee. Let me just get the chat going here. Be able to say good morning to everybody. All right. Good morning, Libby, and peace be with you. Today, it's a little chilly in the Buffalo area today, so I don't know where all of you will be tuning in from today, but I wish I could turn my camera around and show you my view. So there's this great big, like, orange sun in the sky right now, and it's pretty low. Good morning, Angela. But it's like a Halloween scene because there's all this like steam from my pool. It got down to 37 degrees last night, and my pool is still set at 86. Yeah. Good morning. Yeah, it's cold there too. So yeah, Cleveland, same thing. Pretty chilly. Yeah, it's crazy. And so this like steam from my pool with the sun, this like orange sun, it was like Halloween or something really kind of spooky. Pretty soon, I think I'm going to have to surrender the pool. The pool has been the bane of my existence this year, as you know. It was down so much. I didn't get a whole lot of swimming, and my back is very sore today for whatever reason, and I can't wait to get in that pool. But it's still really cold out. So, good morning, Carrie. Good morning, Millie. Thanks for jumping on. So, cheers. Peace be with all of you. I guess I have to call today Coffee and Conversation because, yep, I'm in the dark side. I'm drinking. Today's theme or topic is great expectations. And I was thinking about that with regards to this cup of coffee right here. Good morning, Dottie. So I love myself a good pumpkin spice latte. I don't know if I'm the only one on here that's obsessed with it. I really do think that it's underappreciated. Pumpkin spice latte. I am all about it. And so I am not all about the long lines that I have to stand in or sit in the drive-thru, or the amount of money that I have to pay for my pumpkin spice latte or my pumpkin chai, whatever I get. And so I found these little guys here. I don't know if you've ever seen these. So this is Starbucks Viva Instant, and it's pumpkin spice latte. And I thought, you know what? My expectations were not very high for this. I didn't think it really was going to be that good. But I definitely liked that I didn't have to stand in line for it. I didn't have to pay $5 plus for it. And what I really liked is the fact that it's only 130 calories instead of the 300 plus calories that my pumpkin spice latte normally has. Good morning, Gina. And so we're talking about expectations. So I'm drinking coffee this morning, and it's this coffee. It's this instant from Starbucks. And I just love, it's called Viva Instant. So instant life, basically. This is supposed to give you instant life. So even the title there's an expectation with this title that I'm going to drink this coffee and I'm going to be quite lively today. It said so right in the title, right? So cheers to life, right? To liveliness. So hopefully you're all staying warm. I see a bunch of you have popped on. So let's continue to talk about these expectations. We all have great expectations in many areas of our life, right? Something as simple of what we expect of this cup of coffee, how we expect to feel after we drink it. And sometimes we're disappointed. Sometimes we take that sip and we are not liking it. I actually am preferring this to my actual Starbucks. So this might be a thing. Hopefully not a habit. But just thinking on all of the myriad things that we have expectations tied to, pretty much everything. What I was not expecting was Amy yesterday. I'm like, why is she in the bathroom? And then she starts talking about her toothbrush. And I'm like, oh, makes perfect sense. But I really wasn't expecting to never brush my teeth again without thinking of Monday's coffee and cranberries and conversation. So good job, Amy. That was actually really quite brilliant. I did think about starting in my bathroom today just for fun, but I didn't. Although she might have expected me to. So cheers, everybody. If you are just tuning in, thank you for joining us this morning. It is Tuesday, and I do think it is going to be a beautiful day. I'm expecting that it is going to warm up and it's going to be a good day. I'm starting with my pumpkin chai or my pumpkin spice latte, so we're all good. All right, so what happens, these expectations that we have for like even the littlest things in our life, like this cup of coffee, my expectations for it really don't affect anything, right? It's really not that big of a deal. But what happens when our expectations are tied into our relationships or tied into our career or tied into our world, basically, our community or our society? Because I have to be honest, my fellow men have not been meeting my expectations lately. I've been very disappointed with just the behavior of people in the world today. And I mean, let's talk about 2020, right? I mean, there are a million memes and TikToks and just a lot of humor tied around it. But how many of you thought, 2020, the year of clear vision for this is going to be the year when vision is clear for my family, for my career, for my ministry, whatever it is. I mean, I had some of those expectations. I mean, I started 2020 in Hawaii. I was like, this is going to be the best year ever. Those were my expectations for 2020, right? Do you have expectations for 2020, or have they all just totally swirled the drain and went down in a big old flush? No one expected things to go the way that they did. So how have we all dealt with the changes in our expectations? Have we pivoted? Have we adjusted? Every time we've met a roadblock, every time we've come up against a challenge or our expectations, we were disappointed in them, we've had to pivot. We've had to redirect. We've had to change the way that we view things and we look at things. And then there's other aspects of that as well. Like I'm just going to use Greg and the ministry here as an example. All across the country, people in ministry, just like people in other jobs, had their livelihood kind of snatched away, taken away. And some people just kind of were laying low and waiting for things to change and for things to turn around. But here in this ministry, Greg didn't do that. I was really amazed. It didn't take him long to redirect, to pivot, and to start offering content, offering opportunities in a totally different way, which is exactly how Coffee and Conversation came to be. No one ever expected it to last this long. No one ever thought that we'd be entering a new school year still doing Coffee and Conversation, right? It was like Millie's like, coffee is real. Yes, ma'am. So here we are, this ministry took this pivot and is doing something wonderful with it and is continuing to find ways to thrive and to grow and to reach people to the point where I personally have this great expectation of the ministry. Like when I need support or nourishment or food for thought or inspiration, I know I can come to the Faith in Real Life community and I'm going to find it there. And it's a beautiful thing. Some expectations are fantastic expectations. Now, what'll happen if Greg decides that he's going to take a week off? I mean, he's not going to do any more ministry. And Coffee and Conversation is done. We're done with it, right? What are we going to think about that? How are we going to feel about it? And what is it going to do for us? Are we dependent solely on someone else to meet our needs? Do we expect, I'm just using this ministry as an example, but do we expect that, I'm sorry, I just want to turn this off because it's going to distract me. Okay. Are we expecting that this will always be here? And how are we going to react if it isn't for some reason? Or things change. We don't all embrace change. We don't all love change. I kind of had to laugh a little bit because as I was thinking about this and the expectations, I don't know why, but the Israelites popped into my mind. And so I went back and I was reading in Numbers 11 to be exact. And I really got such a kick out of reading this. So I just have to share this with you. So in Numbers 11, we are talking about the Israelites now and Moses, of course. And it says, now the people complained about their hardships in the hearing of the Lord. Sorry. So the people complained about their hardships in the hearing of the Lord. And when he heard them, he was angered Then fire from the Lord burned among them and consumed some of the outskirts of the camp. Now, when I first read that, I was like, God was angry with their behavior and fires were burning around their camp. Now, I am not in any way suggesting that God caused all these fires that are happening and decimating, hundreds of thousands of acres and, affecting air quality for thousands and thousands of miles. No, I'm not saying that God started those. But I do think that God had every reason to be angry with the people's wailing and complaining and behavior. I do think that there's something there, but I just really thought that was interesting that I read this. I haven't read Numbers in years, and that I would read that and it would talk about the fires. So there's fires burning, and the people now start complaining to Moses, and they cried out to Moses, and Moses prayed to the Lord, and the fires died down, which actually would be a great thing for people to do, is pray more about these fires. But here's the part that kind of made me laugh. The rabble with them began to crave other foods. And again, the Israelites started wailing, and they said, "If only we had meat to eat. Remember the fish we ate in Egypt at no cost. Also the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks, the onions and the garlic." Sounds like my house. My son going, "Really? This is what we have to eat? Ew, what about this? I would rather have that. I would rather have this." Instead of, "Thank you so much for providing this meal, Mom." Anyway, the plight of all mothers. "Now we have lost our appetite. We never see anything but this manna." Exclamation point. How often do we see exclamation points in the Bible? Anyway, manna was like coriander seed and looked like resin. The people went around gathering it. They ground it in hand mill or crushed it with a mortar. They cooked it in a pot and made it into loaves. It tasted like something made with olive oil. When the dew settled on camp at night, the manna also came. I mean, I get it. I think I would get a little tired of this particular meal as well. I mean, I like me some bread, but yeah. So Moses heard the people from every family wailing at the entrance of their tents. So everybody's complaining, kind of like now. Everybody's complaining because they can't go and do what they want. And they have to wear these masks, and everyone's complaining, right? The Lord became exceedingly angry, and Moses was troubled. And he asked the Lord, "Why have you brought this trouble on your servant? What have I done to displease you that you put the burden of all these people on me?" This is where Moses' expectations of the Lord perhaps are not being met. He says, "Did I conceive all these people? Did I give them birth? Why do you tell me to carry them in my arms, and as a nurse carries an infant, to the land you promised on oath to their ancestors? Where can I get meat for all these people? They keep wailing to me, 'Give us meat.' I cannot carry all these people by myself. The burden is too heavy for me." This is where he reminded me a little bit of my son. He says, "If this is how you're going to treat me, please go ahead and kill me." Now, if this were my son, he'd be like, "If this is how it's going to be, just kill me now, Mom." Right? "And if I have found favor in your eyes, do not let me face my own ruin." So here's this thing, right? You've got the people complaining to Moses, and now you have Moses complaining to God because everybody's expectations are not being met. I think they believed wholeheartedly that, Moses believed that God was calling him to set his people free and to take them to the promised land. He tells the people this. The people expect that they're going to get there in a reasonable amount of time. They expect that they're going to eat meat along the way and cucumbers and melons and everything else. And suddenly their expectations are not being met. And how often does that happen in life? Good morning, Ted. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. We are talking about our great expectations in life. And this is my pumpkin spice coffee that is exceeding my expectations. Okay, so here we have the situation. So now Moses says, I need some help, or just kill me now. I don't want to keep doing this with these complaining people. And so God does. God gives him help. He says, tells him to get these 70 people, and he's going to have these people be his helpers, and so on and so forth. But I just kind of really love God's reaction to the people here. So let's see. This is what he says in verse 18. Tell the people, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow when you will eat meat. So this is great. The people want to meet, they wailed, they complained, and they expected Moses and God to do something about it. And now God is saying, absolutely. The Lord heard you when you wailed. If only we have meat to eat. We were better off in Egypt. That must have really smarted. You know what I mean? Like, here the Lord is taking them to the promised land, and they're saying, we had it better when we were slaves. Right? So the Lord will give you meat and you will eat it. You will not eat it for just 1 day or 2 days or 5, 10, or 20 days, but for a whole month until it comes out of your nostrils and you loathe it. God's saying, oh, you want meat? Oh, I'm going to give you meat. So much meat that it's going to come out of your nostrils and you will loathe it. And then we'll see if you complain. What? Okay. Because you have rejected the Lord, who is among you, you have wailed before him, saying, why did we ever leave Egypt? So I was cracking up about this last night, and Troy was with me, and I read him that, and he was like, so does God really do that? Is God like, oh, you want to complain? You're just going to see what happens if you keep complaining, right? This is how we treat our children sometimes, isn't it? I mean, we've done it as parents. We're like, oh, really? Really, this isn't good enough for you? Well, how about this? Would you prefer that? How about if I give you what you want until it's coming out of your nostrils, right? I was not expecting that. I have to be honest. I don't know. I must have just passed it over when I read it once upon a time. Ted says, I find the more joy and love and appreciation we have for God, the less we complain. True enough. True enough. Right. Now, what I love is basically the scriptures are filled with God's promises to us. Philippians 4:19, it says, my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in the glory of Jesus Christ. So he promises to supply all of our needs, right? Proverbs 11:23 says the desires of the righteous ends only in good, but the expectations of the wicked in wrath, right? So we see examples of that all the time. And of course, Greg and I's favorite verse, Jeremiah 29, I know the plans I have for you to bring you good, to prosper you. There's some expectation that comes with that scripture verse. And that scripture verse really became very real and poignant to me again this week. Some of you already know this, but not everybody in the community does. But after 48 years, because I'm 48, after 48 years, I finally learned the name of my birth mother. I wasn't expecting it. It came last Wednesday, and it was kind of out of the blue. I had forgotten that I had ordered my original birth certificate when the law changed last year, and it just didn't come. And then COVID happened, and I totally forgot all about it. And then suddenly here, my original birth certificate was in my hands. I had no idea just how many expectations that I had for this moment. How many expectations I had on the name that I now know. There's a story that I told myself my entire life. There was a story about my birth mother. There was a story about the circumstances surrounding my birth. She was 16. My birth father was 26. I mean, there's stories and expectations that I had there. And there was pain wrapped up into some of those, like my birth father being 26. Why didn't he take care of me? He was old enough. He probably had a job, why didn't he want me? There's an expectation that probably he should have kept me and provided for me. And none of that is wrapped up in not loving the life that I have. It has nothing to do with my parents, the people who raised me. My adopted family is my family, and I'm happy with it. It's not even that, but there is this need to know that I have always had. So now I know, only it's not going the way that I expected it to go. My husband reacted. I was telling him the other day that I was struggling. And I just said, I found her and I reached out to her, and she is not interacting with me the way that I expected her to. And I was really having a hard time with it. And I was expecting my husband to be more sympathetic, to be, compassionate. But instead he said to me, well, she is the one that had a closed adoption. She is the one that didn't want to be found. And I was like, that is not what I was expecting to hear. And that sent me spinning a little bit too. And so what I realized is I had to release my birth mother from this story, from all of my expectations of her. I had to release my husband from that comment because he didn't know. I didn't explain to him what I needed from him, that I didn't need him to solve anything. I just needed him to listen, that I was struggling. And I needed to release myself. So that's what I've been working on for the last week since last we talked. But here's my question to all of you. And this is where the challenge comes in. Who or what has not met your expectations? And because of that, have you found yourself harboring resentment or bitterness, hurt, hopelessness, confusion, or a little taste of what now apathy? That's a virus that we can sometimes get, the what now apathy. When things don't go the way that we expect them to, it can affect our vision. It can make us a little irritable. It can affect our ability to sleep. And if you suffer from this, it's very important that we take time to release. So we need to take a dose of forgiveness. This is me and my doctor hat right now. You need to take a dose of forgiveness with about 8 ounces of grace. And you're going to need to just really redirect your expectations to the great physician who will never let us down. Amen to that, right? He's never going to let us down. Cindy says, the more I read the Old Testament, the more I see similarities with current times. But it also makes me excited to see what Jesus has to say about the New Testament. Exactly. That was one thing I talked about with Troy. I was like, okay, so we love the God of the New Testament. He's like, you know what, Carrie? I think I prefer Jesus. He's much easier to deal with. It just kind of made me laugh, the thought process of it all. Now, you may be thinking, okay, and I need to discuss this for just a moment. Some of you may be thinking, and I do know that this happens, there are plenty of times, or at least a few times, perhaps in your life, when God did not meet your expectations. Perhaps there are prayers that are still left unanswered in your life. Maybe somebody died that you believe should not have died. Perhaps you expected healing in a certain situation and instead you got redemptive suffering. It's not what you expected, but it's the reality of life. Maybe the job that you thought God called you to fell through. Or worse, you're in that job now and you hate it. It is not at all what you expected. And why did God bring you here? And then you start questioning, did I not hear him right? Was this not what I was supposed to be doing? Maybe I'm the one who made the mistake because clearly God wouldn't want this for me, right? So what do we do with that? What do we do when our expectations or our letdown seems tied up to our relationships? And even worse, when we think it's God that didn't meet our expectations or that let us down and hurt us. I think it's real. I do think that people feel it. I think that people experience it. And it's what we do with it that is important. Now, I am not any great theologian, biblical scholar, anything like that. And I've had my share of disappointments. But I do know that one thing remains: God's love. It never fails. So things may not go the way that we wanted them to. Our story may not be written the way that we thought it would be. We've turned to the next chapter and whoa, plot twist, right? But God's love remains. God doesn't change. His way might not be my way, but that is where trust comes in. If we believe that we serve a God of love, if we believe that God created us for goodness, then the greatest expectation that we can have is faith. Trusting that he's got this. Trusting that he's not going to let us fall. Trusting that we will not see our demise because he will always win. He will always be victorious. It's just up to me how long I allow myself to struggle with it. with my disappointments. It's up to you how long you will allow yourself to stay in that place instead of releasing those disappointments to God and letting Him make you whole again. Hopefully that all makes sense. God is the greatest expectation that we can ever have. Truly. And I hope that, I feel like there may be some people that really need to remember that really need to understand that joy does come in the morning, she says, as the sun suddenly gets bright and starts shining. Joy always comes in the morning, but we need to release the darkness in order to receive the joy, trusting in God and expecting that in the end, He will be victorious in our lives. He will be victorious in us, through us, and all around us. Greatest expectation. So trust plus release and forgiveness equals the greatest expectations being met. It's my formula today. Trust plus release and forgiveness equals great expectations being met. So I would like to close today with a song, if you would indulge me. While I was working through all of the emotions and all of the unmet expectations over the last week, I took it to song. It's what I do. It's one of the ways when I can't work things out emotionally. I just sit down with my guitar. It's always been this way since I was in 4th grade. I remember the first time I did this. This is how I really kind of work through things. And I wrote a song with my birth mother in mind, but I wanted to share it with all of you. And I just wrote it last night. So you'll be the first people to hear it. But I feel like it's important. It's part of that forgiveness. And I also think that perhaps there might be someone here that needs to hear this as well. So would you please do me a favor while I share this song with you? If you would just please pray. Pray for all of the wailing going on in our world right now. All those who are suffering, all those whose expectations were not met and they're being crushed under the weight of their disappointments. Just pray for healing, for forgiveness, for release, and for a whole lot more trust. Let's do that. I release you from expectations, from being who I think that you should be. And I release you from all the ways that I thought that this would go. And I release you from the expectations of all the things I wanted you to say. And I release you from all the things that I thought that you would do. And I release you from the stories that I told myself about who you are. And I release me too. 'Cause I'm a daughter of the King of Kings. I am a child of the Prince of Peace. And I know that I am His and He is mine. And I will rest in my Father's arms, safe in the shadow of His wings. He will never let me down. He will never let me go. He will never stop loving me. I am His and He is mine, and I am free. And I release you from the expectations of all that you should want to know me. And I release you from any pain, rejection, loss, and guilt and shame. I release you from my expectation, and I will love you for who you were. A brave little girl that had a little girl once upon a time. Now I'm a daughter of the King of Kings. I'm a child of the Prince of Peace. And I know, yes, I know, I am his and he is mine. And I will rest in my Father's arms, safe in the shadow of his wings. He will never let me down, he'll never let me go, and he'll never stop loving me. 'Cause I am his and he is mine. That makes me free. I release you from my story. You are free to be who he created you to be. And I am ever grateful you chose life when it mattered most. You chose life. You chose life. You chose me. Thank you so much, you guys, for sticking with me and letting me share that with you. That is part of my release. It is part of my healing, to know and understand that these great expectations that I may have had or have still as I'm continuing to work through it, it is all going to be okay. I can face any disappointments. I can face however this goes or whatever comes my way, because at the end of the day, I am his child. I'm a child of the King of Kings, just as each and every one of you are here today as well. So if any of you are facing insecurities, doubts, fear, any of those things, just take it to your dad. He's waiting for you with his arms open wide, and he just wants to say, you know what, come and rest in the shadow of my wings for just a little bit and let me love all over you, my child, because you are mine and I am yours. So with that, I would like to end today with my thanks and appreciation. Just a reminder to go to the Faith in Real Life page and share it with other people. Continue to spread the ministry and share the word. And guys, you know what? As we're talking about the fact that this coffee and conversation has been going on for as long as it has, and how we've all come to expect it and love it, and we jump on and we start our day with it, and it's a wonderful thing. If you want to make donations to the ministry to help it keep going, please do. You can do so. Just contact Faith in Real Life through the ministry page. There's a donate button, I'm sure. and just go ahead and help support the ministry. I think that would be wonderful. I think it is something that we all can get behind, because we can know and expect that great things are going to continue to come out of the ministry. So God bless you guys. God keep you. Thank you so much. We will see Millie tomorrow. I love our Millie Minutes. They're just fantastic. And of course, Greg probably on Thursday, podcast on Friday. So still lots of wonderful ministry coming through. So peace be with everybody. If I missed any announcements, I know Libby will add them to the comments here, but just have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you guys.